everyone, this is real estate coach Craig Proctor coming live from the kitchen of my old house. We have no electricity here today, so of course the lighting won't be great, but the information is going to be good because today we're going to be talking about the ultimate listing presentation system, something I know a lot about because I did over 10,000 listings, was one of the top listing agents in all of North America. So we're going to talk about what I learned. You have to have a system for doing your presentations. You can get everything right. You can generate leads. You can have great conversion. You can get face-to-face with buyers and sellers and still blow it if you don't understand the conversion process, the listing presentation. So I became so good at this that eventually I was able to train other real estate agents on my team how to be as good as I was. Now, I'm not suggesting I got 100% of the sellers that I met with to sign up, but probably 80%, and probably the 20% I didn't get are probably ones I didn't want. I mean, there are a few that got away, but if you're doing the same thing in the same order over and over and over again, you get to test things. I really have this drilled down. It would be very normal for me to list 5 or 6 homes every single day. So if, my 9 a.m., if I blew my 9 a.m. appointment, I had another one at 10 and another 11. We would stack these listing appointments up every hour on the hour. So I'm going to talk to you about how I systemized that, if that's a word. I systemized it. And I'll walk you through my process. So please check in. Let us know what city, what state, if you're in Canada, what city, what province you're in. Let me know where you're from. We're going to have a good crowd here today. A lot of people will see this after the fact as well. And we do get a lot of referrals here in Craig Proctor Nation, and we just send them out to you. We have agents that say, hey, do you have anybody in such and such a city? And we go here to my Facebook page to find agents and match them up. We don't keep any of the money. We just pass the referral. So let us know where you're from. I mean, that's a motivation to check in. Okay, so I've written down some points here. We're going to talk about qualifying the seller before you go out on the listing appointment. So in the beginning of my career, I would meet with anybody. I guess you could say it was good practice, right? But if I could get in the door, I would go meet with the seller. And I learned very early in my career that I don't want to just get a listing appointment because I can. Okay, so don't set an appointment up just because you can, unless you just want the practice, because many of these appointments that I forced, they were not motivated or their timing was way off. So I learned that in the first few months of the business is I need to heavily qualify these sellers before I meet with them. Okay, so don't meet with the seller just because you can. You should only be meeting with the seller because you should. So we're going to qualify these sellers based on what? I'm going to ask them where they're moving to, when they need to be there. Why is this move important? How much did you pay for the home? I know we can look that up. How much did you spend on improvements? Here's the biggie. Are you speaking to other real estate agents? Okay. Now, if they are speaking to other real estate agents, I say, could I be the last realtor you meet with? Why? Because I want to show you how much extra I do to get your home sold. And if I can lock in, now how do I lock in that appointment? I say, look, I'm going to do a fair amount of work in preparation for our meeting on Thursday, right? Assuming the other realtors are maybe coming in on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to do a lot of work in preparation for our meeting on Thursday. And Mr. and Mrs. Seller, all I ask in return is you don't list with one of the other real estate agents before you and I have a chance to get together. Does that sound fair? And it is a fair request because you and I do spend a lot of time and energy preparing for our appointments. Now, if I can't get them to commit to me, to wait, I can't get their commitment that they're not going to sign with one of the other agents, that tells my brain I better go first. Okay, so are you speaking with other agents? Don't be afraid to ask that question. If you can't lock them in to be the last one and getting their commitment that they're going to wait for you, then you want to do the reverse. You want to make sure that you're first agent to meet with them. So I ask a lot of qualifying questions. I'm only going out on appointments where I know they need to sell and they need to sell their house in the next couple weeks or maybe next couple months. I am not going out to meet with a seller that has a good reason why they're not going to list their home for 6 months. Let's say they bought new construction And so they have a good reason, or they've been transferred and they've got a good reason why they're absolutely not going to list their house in the next 3 or 4 months. What am I doing there? Why would I go out? No matter what price I give the seller today, 6 months from now, the price will be different. And how much is the seller going to retain of what I said today in 6 months? They're not going to remember what I had to say. And so they might just like meet with another agent and completely forget about me. So that's a rule I had, is I am not going to go meet with a seller unless I feel that they're super motivated and there's a pretty good chance that they're going to list their home in the next couple of weeks, hopefully today. Okay. Always try to be the last one in. So ask these questions. Stop wasting your time. The most valuable asset you have is your time. Remember, this is about how you can make more money, but also work less. Okay. And you know, sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Remember, I told you earlier in my career, I would book these unqualified seller appointments and I'd get there and I'd be all frustrated because this elderly couple, they weren't motivated. They weren't thinking of selling. They were just lonely. You know, they're coming out with the tray of tea and cookies. Yeah, I got no time for that. So, we're going to ask these qualifying questions. Now, when we get to the house, a little technique that I don't know where I come up with it, but when they answer the door, I extend my hand, introduce myself. Hi, this is Craig Proctor from whatever real estate, ABC Realty. Are you folks ready to get your home sold today? And sometimes they would say yes, which is a pretty good sign, right? And we go right to the kitchen table. Other times they'd say, well, we don't know. It depends what you have to say. You know, we're just investigating it. But it's a good question to ask right at the front door. Are you folks ready to get your home sold? Okay, because their response will give you a clue as to what you need to do. Maybe in many cases, I didn't even have to do the full presentation. One of the things that I asked the seller to have laid out on the kitchen table is their survey and their tax bill. So when I walked in the house and we get to the kitchen table and I see that they've got their survey printed out, sitting on the kitchen table, and they've got their tax bill, that's a pretty good sign that they're ready to list their home for sale. Again, if this is making sense to you, smash the like button. Okay, maybe give me a little heart there. And check in. Make sure you check in. Let us know what city you operate in, because we get lots of referrals here. Part of the advantage of hanging out with me here is to meet other success-minded agents. And obviously, when you want to send a referral, you want to send a referral to an agent that knows what they're doing. Those are the agents that check in here. Okay, before I look at the house, usually what I do, I don't know how you guys do, but usually before I go look at the house, we would go sit down somewhere and have a little chat, right? So what I found early in my career is they would sometimes lead me into a family room or a living room where I'm sitting on one couch and 15 or 20 feet on the other side of the room, the sellers are sitting there, and that's no good. Obviously, we're here to make a presentation, and I want to be sitting at a table. So consider yourself like an actor, and an actor has a script, and that's your presentation, is your script. I know to some of you that might sound boring. Oh, I don't want to be scripted. But hey, if you're having an operation, you'd want to make sure the doctor has a script, right? They have an operation plan. If you're flying in an airplane, you'd want to know that the pilot has a flight plan. So this is all scripted out. Now, it is difficult to do this 10,000 times, and to every one of the clients, each client feels like it's not scripted, right? It feels like it's an individual one-on-one attention where I'm not just, going by memory. So yeah, the challenge here is treating client 10,000 like client number one, right? And that's what I was able to do. Every day I had 4 or 5 of these listing presentations, and even though it might be number 5 of the day for me, to each one of those sellers, it's their number 1 presentation. So where we sit, usually it's in a kitchen table, is really important as well. How many of you have made this mistake before? You're usually meeting with a husband and wife, right? 2 people. So maybe the wife is on the left side of you and the husband's on the right side of you. And, the power is coming back on. Oh, that's great. I might have to go hit something here, but you're trying to divide your attention between husband and wife, right? That's what you're trying to do. And your head's bobbing back and forth, and you're talking to the wife and you're talking to the husband. And no matter how good a job you think you're doing, unfortunately, one person always thinks you're giving the other person more attention or whatever, right? So to avoid that, I sit the husband and wife next to each other. So when I'm looking at one of them, I'm looking at both of them. I know you might be thinking, well, this is kind of minutia, but these are the details. I want to give you guys the tiny little details, the things I learned in over 20 years, 10,000 homes sold with all these little details. So even where they sit was really important. Now, I haven't even got into the presentation yet. So we decided where we're going to sit. I plunked down my bag with my laptop. I might power up my laptop. And for me, husband and wife, I always like them sitting to the right of me, right? I have my laptop to the left. You may be the opposite, but anyway, these are just a little details. So now we're going to go look at the house, right? And remember, I've had 5 listing appointments today, so I've got to take notes. Okay, I've got to take notes, because if I don't take notes, by the end of the day, I'm not going to know which features went with what house or whatever. But I also found the sellers like it because it seems like you're really detailed. So I'm taking notes as I'm walking around the house. Again, if you like all the little details, smash the like button. Give me a thumbs up if you like all the minutiae here. So you don't get this from sales trainers that have never sold a house or they haven't sold 10,000 homes. So now we're looking around the house, and I'm asking them questions. Like, what do you do for a living? Okay. By the way they answer the questions, by what they do for a living, by the way they answer my questions, and by the questions they ask of me, I'm able to determine their personality type. Okay. A lot of you have been trained on DISC personality type, DISC. And the reason I want to know their personality type is I want to know how to present this information. And I know what you're thinking is, well, gee, Craig, a minute ago you said you're basically saying the same thing to everybody else, to everybody at this, over and over again. That is true, but the way I present it is slightly altered based on their personality type. So, for example, if they're a dominant personality type, I'm not going to get through maybe a half an hour or 40-minute presentation. I'm going to hit the high points. Where if they're an S or C, if they're if they're an accountant or an engineer, they're an analytical person, I might be at their house for an hour and a half, and I need to get into all the details and all the stats. So I'm trying to gauge who I'm selling to, because here's what I learned. Our natural tendency is to sell to everybody the way that we would sell to ourselves. Like we think, well, the way I buy or the way I make decisions is the way everybody buys, the way everyone makes decisions, and it's not true. How many of you can relate to everything was going well in your presentation, and then all of a sudden it just felt like nobody really said anything, but boom, it was over. I just got to shut the alarm off here. That's because somehow you rubbed them the wrong way. Okay, but some personalities I didn't do well with. For me, if like some occupations, if they were like an engineer or an accountant, I had a harder time with them. So let me know if that makes sense. Maybe type into the comments here, what personality type, or is there a certain occupation where you have a challenge with that type of person? Maybe like me, it's like an engineer, like, not an engineer who drives a train, but electrical engineer, civil engineer, an accountant, a computer engineer. I would try at the end to close them, and they said, I need more time, and I didn't understand that because that's not the way I make decisions. So I had to learn how to sell to people the way they wanted to be sold, right? Not necessarily the way I make decisions or the way I buy or sell, or that doesn't matter. If it's true that there's 4 major personality types, you're going to be one of those personality types, and you're going to naturally click with people that have your personality type. But what if they're one of the other 3/4 of the population, right? So to be super successful, which I know you want to be, you have to be effective with all the personality types. Well, the first thing you need to know is, well, what personality type am I dealing with here? And then how do I sell to that person? Well, I'm figuring that out on the walkthrough, right? So by the time I get back to the kitchen table, I know who I'm dealing with. Okay, so when we get back to the kitchen table, if I haven't already done what I call discovery is where I'm finding out like what makes them tick. Okay, they want to move, but we really need to understand why they want to move. What's important to them with this move? What life situation or problem is this going to solve? So it might be the commute's too long. They might be going through a divorce. They might be moving to a different part of the country to be closer to their kids. They might be retiring and moving to the Sun Belt. I want to know all these details. Why is this move important? What makes you really tick? Really understanding what the true motivation here, because I'm going to use this in the presentation. These discovery questions are going to also tell me more information about how to sell them the way they want to be sold. When I get into the presentation, it's a PowerPoint presentation. You could use flip charts. Basically, you want to keep the attention on you, but the PowerPoints or your flip charts are basically just to keep you on track. But you want the sellers looking at you. I'm going to be talking about all the unique services and programs that I offer. And I'm going to make unique guarantees. We call these unique selling propositions. I'm going to make unique guarantees that no other agent offers. So I'll give you an example of some of the unique services. You know, one of the things I would talk about is my team. For example, when you hire me, you get me and my team for the same price as a solo agent. Now, having a team today might not be unique. But you can make it unique. We're going to show you how to talk about how your team is different and better than other teams. Now, if you don't have a team, you can still talk about your team even if you don't really have one. When I was a solo agent, I talked about my team was the other 55 agents at the RE/MAX office and the administrative staff. So you can kind of embellish it and talk about your team even if you're a solo agent because you work at a brokerage. We're going to talk about unique services. So one of them, for example, is my buyers in waiting program. So in this situation, the sellers interviewed 3 agents and I'm number 3. So they've already talked to 2 other agents. And remember earlier, I got them to promise that they're not going to list or sign anything with one of the other agents until I showed up. Why are they going to wait for me? Number one, because I promised I'm going to show them what I do that's extra and over and above and different than the other agents. And number 2, they made a promise. I said, look, I'm going to do a lot of work in preparation for our meeting on Thursday. All I ask in return is your commitment that you won't sign anything with any of the other agents until we meet on Thursday. Do I have your word? Do you promise? Does that sound fair? Okay. I'm not saying that works 100% of the time, but they feel pretty bad calling you and saying, I lied to you. I promised you I wouldn't do it and I did it. If you don't feel confident that they're going to wait for you, remember what I said, go in first. Okay. You're either last or you're first. Okay, unique programs. The other agents have talked about what they're going to do to find a buyer for the seller's house. Their presentation's all about, usually their presentation's about themselves, right? And I've been in real estate here for 17 years, and our company has been in real estate here for 150 years. They talk a lot about themselves, nothing really unique or different. So I want to be about what's important to them and something that's really unique where they can see that what I offer separates me from them and it's really beneficial. So one of the things we want to understand is this seller doesn't even really want to list their house. Okay, the seller would prefer just to get it done, just to have it sold. Like if you showed up with a buyer that was going to pay them top dollar and they could skip all the hoopla of the traditional painful process, the seller would be good with that. We're the only ones that want to list the house. The seller would love it if we could just get it sold. So what I've done in preparation for this meeting is I have a printout of, let's say, 47 buyers that I've pulled from my database. And I have that printout and I hand the printout to the sellers and I say to them this. I say, should you decide to list your home with me, the very first thing that I would do is I would email details and pictures of your house out to these 47 buyers. Before our meeting, I did a search in our database. We have 47 buyers. They're looking here in the northeast part of town in your price range. And we call this the Craig Proctor Buyers and Waiting Program. And sometimes we get a match right away. Sometimes we'll get a couple matches, meaning you get an offer right away, or maybe you get multiple offers. And I look them in the eyes and they're looking at this printout and they're looking at me and I say, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's almost like I've been looking for a buyer for your home before you and I even met today. pause. See, I'm planting that seed that Craig Proctor is the agent with the buyers. Then I might say, hey, you know the other two agents that you were speaking to? Did they talk to you about how many buyers they're currently working with? Pause. And now the sellers are looking at each other and they're drawing the conclusion, no, the other agents, they didn't talk to us about how many buyers they already had. Craig, all they wanted to talk to us about is if we were to list with them, what they would start to do, what they would begin to do to try to find a buyer for our house. See the difference? I position myself as, I already got 47 buyers. If you list with me, it's almost like I've been looking for a buyer before you and I even met today. And the other agents, all they wanted to talk about is what they would begin to do, what they would start to do to try to find a buyer. So I'm positioning myself as the agent that has the buyers. If we're talking about open houses, did the other agents offer open houses? First of all, do you like open houses? Make sure you ask this question. You don't want to talk about open houses if the seller in the first 5 minutes, if you do the discovery right, if you ascertain that the seller hates open houses, don't talk about open houses, right? But let's say they like open houses and they think open houses are great. And the other two agents talked about open houses. I will set myself apart from the other agents and say, well, what I do is a Sunday tour of homes. This is a unique service I offer. And here's how it works. Instead of having just your house open on Sunday, I open 6 houses here in the afternoon, on Sunday afternoons. Each house is open for a specific 10-minute window. And the seller might say, well, how do you expect to sell my house in 10 minutes? I don't. But because we have 6 houses open, each house is open for 10 minutes. Let's say your house is open from 1 to 1:10. And then there's 15 minutes travel time because there's only me going from house to house. 15 minutes travel time. The next house is open from 1:25 to 1:35 throughout the afternoon. On purpose, what happens here, Mr. and Mrs. Home Seller, is I'm pushing all the buyers to your house at exactly the same time. Because we have 6 houses open, we get 6 times as, smash the like button. If you think these are good ideas, let me know. This is free to you guys. I'm just passing on what I did. If we have 6 houses open and we're forcing all the buyers to each house at exactly the same time, it creates competition, right? What we call the auction effect. I say to the sellers, imagine if you were at this open house and you kind of like the house and you see there's 10 or 15 other buyers there, what would you be thinking? You'd be thinking, well, I better jump on this house. It creates urgency. Now, I would always insist that the sellers be present during the tour because I want to show them every weekend how I'm able to bring 10 or 15 buyers through their home. It's only for 10 minutes. The other agents want to kick them out of the house. I'm saying, no, stay there. It's only 10 minutes. If after a couple weeks I bring, 50, 100 buyers through their home, what does it help me get if the house isn't selling? A price reduction. The sellers can't say to me, well, your marketing doesn't work or you haven't brought enough people through the house. They've seen it with their own eyes. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about unique services and programs that I offer that nobody else offers. At the end of the presentation, most of them are convinced to sign up with me. Before I get to what my commission is and the asking price, make sure you do a bit of a test close. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Before you talk about, I charge 5% or 6%, or I think your house should be listed $1 million. Don't do that. Ask for the order first. Do a little bit of a test close. Here's how it works. So blah, blah, blah about all the unique things I do. And before I get to my commission or the suggested list price, I will say, hey, based on what we've discussed so far, do you think I'm the best agent to handle this for you? Get them locked in. Get them to say yes. Because if they say no or we're not sure, that tells you need to go back into your benefit portion of your presentation and you need to talk some more about the benefits, the things that you do. But if you get a solid yes, then you're going to say, well, my commission is 5% or 6% or whatever you charge, and I think the price should be, the list price should be 1.2 million. Now, if they say no at the end, well, at least it's not the benefit portion because they said yes. They must not like my commission rate or they must not like my suggested asking price. You see, for you and I to be able to handle an objection, we need to isolate the objection. We need to know what the objection is, right? If we don't know what the objection is, all that happens, if you don't know how to handle this, is at the end of the presentation, they say, well, we have to think about it. Now, we have to think about it is their polite way of saying, no, pack up your stuff and leave the house. Okay, so there's a system to this. And if you're interested in learning my systems, I'm going to invite you all to book a call with me. If someone could type into the comments, proctorcall.com. If you go to Proctor Call, so my name, call, no space, proctorcall.com, I invite you all to book an appointment with me and my team. It's cost you $0. It's not a big sales pitch. We will walk through the Craig Proctor system, and you can decide whether this is right for you, whether I'm right for you. Okay, all good things start with a conversation. Smash the like button if this has made sense to you today. Like, you guys are smart. I'm sure you can figure it out, and you have been figuring out real estate, but I've been doing this for 30 years. Why not leverage off of all my experience? Why spend all the years figuring it on your own? I have got the experience. I've been through all this. I've got a system laid out, and I've helped create more millionaire agents than any other coach or trainer. A lot of these gurus have never made millions of dollars. Tell me a coach that you know of that sold over 10,000 homes. Show me a coach that within the first 36 months of having their real estate license, they were named the #1 RE/MAX agent in the entire world, and they kept being the top agent in the world. Doesn't exist, right? That's what I give you, is real world, in the trenches. That's why you're nodding your head up and down. You're like, this makes sense. I can tell this guy's actually done this. There's too much teaching in real estate today by people that have never been successful doing what they're teaching you. Too much theory, too much social media. I'm great. Let's face it. Anybody can say they're a coach, right? If you can spell the word coach, you can say you're a coach. Book a call with me. This is where conversations start. I don't know where it's going to go. I'll ask you a bunch of questions. You can tell me what you're doing. I'll give you some suggestions. If at any time you don't like this, we'll just end the call. We'll do it on Zoom, so I can show you a few things. I can kind of get to know you face to face. Like, is this helped right now? Think about this. I have just given you a presentation right now. And this presentation didn't cost me any money to give didn't cost me any money to do this. It didn't cost you any money to be on here today. But I'd like to teach you how to do presentations using video to your sellers and to your buyers. You see, old school, what we've been taught to believe is, well, I need to call a whole bunch of leads and get them on the phone and talk these prospects into meeting with me so I can tell them what I do. You don't necessarily need to meet with them to show the buyers and sellers what it is that you do, what makes you different and what makes you better. Look at what we're doing right now. I've just spent a half an hour talking about what I do, what made me different and better. And some of you are going to like this, and eventually you'll be Craig Proctor clients. Well, I want to teach you how to do what I'm doing right here. I'm doing a presentation to you, and it's a good presentation. And I didn't have to drive over to your house. But some of you now are like, okay, maybe I didn't know Craig before. I've got a feel for Craig. You see, this is the first thing we want to establish is #1, awareness. Clients obviously need to know who you are before they can do business with you. But they also need to kind of like you, know you, trust you, feel like you've got credibility. That's why I do these. And this is why I want to teach you how to use video, how to use social media to push your message out to buyers and sellers in your area so everybody knows you, everyone understands that you really know your stuff. You can set yourself apart from the other agents, and at the end result, people call you. So another thing I'd like to offer you is I have a private Facebook group that's got over 7,000 top real estate agents in it. If you would like an invitation to be part of my private Facebook group, just type into the comments below, private group. Okay, if you type in private group, I'll have someone on my team give you an invitation, and we'll get you part of that. Okay, private group. But I really recommend that you book a call with us. Cost you $0. If you liked this, imagine us having a one-on-one conversation. Imagine me asking you what it is that you do and why you do it that way. Okay, why do you do it that way? And you're going to have a reason. Do you know a lot of what we do is just because that we saw other people doing it that way? Maybe like whatever you're doing, you copied it from somebody, right? This is how your broker owner told you to do it, or another agent, or maybe you've had some training from some of these other coaches, but you have a way of doing things, right? That's your routine. But understand that your routine is getting you the results that you're getting. And some of you are saying, well, I don't like my results. Well, then we got to change the routine, right? Obviously, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. Now, you don't want to change the routine just for the sake of changing the routine. And you don't want to make things, you don't want to experiment with a bunch of things and upset the apple cart and make things worse. So I would never recommend that you stop doing what you're doing. What I'd like to do is add some things that I can help you and teach you. Add some things that you're not doing on top of what you're already doing. And if the things that I suggest you do, if they start working better than what you're currently doing, then you're going to want to do more of that, right? So I believe the best way to help you and prove I can help you is just to help you, right? That's the best way I can prove that I can really help you is I'm going to just keep helping you with videos like this one here today. So if you like this video, please let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already smashed the like button, please smash the like button. Maybe give me a little heart. You can share this as well. Maybe you want to share this with another agent you know. Maybe you want to share it with your broker owner because your broker owner wants to help the other agents in your office. But I want to thank you so much for watching this today. This was about the listing presentation system. Now, I have a buyer presentation system. I have a system for generating leads. I have a system for converting leads. There is a best way to do all of this. And I'd like to share with you my best way so you can start to make more money and work less and have more freedom in your life as a real estate agent, because that's why you got into real estate, right? So thank you so much for being here. I hope to hear from you, and we'll see you next time. This is Real Estate Coach Craig Proctor. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you for watching.
Hi, this is Craig Proctor. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed that video. And listen, I've got a lot more information for you to help you grow your real estate business. You see, several times a week, I record new videos and I load them onto this YouTube channel. What I'd like you to do, if you'd like to access them, are two important things, and both are totally free. Number one is I'd like you to subscribe to this channel. You're gonna see a little subscribe button for you to click on. And if you don't already have an account with YouTube, it's free for you to set it up. It's really easy, it's free, but you've got to subscribe to this channel. And the most important thing is to ring the little bell right next to the subscribe button. And that's gonna let you know every time I load new money-making videos to help you grow your real estate business. So make sure you subscribe right now, you ring the little bell, and we'll see you on the next video.